Over many years, I lived through and survived a deep clinical depression. I'd wake up and I would feel dread and despair sitting on my chest. It wasn't every single day, but it was often enough. On the hardest days, the most comforting thought I had in the morning was that I didn't have to keep doing this forever. I could stop it. Looking back now, I realize that relief often felt like self-care. That dark thought felt like a way out of this abyss of loneliness, of not belonging anywhere. I felt so lost. And then I would get up and I would paint on a smile for the comfort and pleasure of those I hoped would love me today. I would try to be pleasant or helpful, solve people's problems, easy to be around, because I was terrified of rejection, terrified of being emotionally abandoned again. Like a person who comes back from war and hears a car backfire. Our nervous system gets rewired by circumstances beyond our control. But I learned how to get through the day, fantasizing and hopeful that next month, next year, I would matter to that person or that person that I was seeking to connect to. And then I would do it all over again the next day. But next month and next year, they never came. I was married, but I had no friends. I was trying to turn something empty into something meaningful. And it took every ounce of my energy to make that dynamic work. But there wasn't enough there to build anything from. I was locked in by cultural expectations, religious expectations, family expectations. I was stuck. I had shrunk myself into expectations, ignoring my God-given needs. That was my life on most days, even though there were rare moments of real connection somewhere in my life, moments when someone met me honestly. Well, it's Belle Let's Talk Day this week, and by every clinical measure, I had become very mentally unwell. When I finally woke up and started having the courage to stop shrinking, my doctor called my recent depression a marital burnout. This was the culmination of years of people-pleasing and trying to be there for others first. But here's what I understand now. What broke me wasn't a chemical imbalance. It wasn't even that life was too stressful. It was caused by a broken heart. Hearing messages that how others felt mattered more than I did. I had become invisible for who I was and only noticed for what I did for them. Many people feel like this heartbrokenness of feeling dismissed and invalidated. There's just no room for our thoughts or our feelings, our needs, just our basic human needs. The message was constant though. You're not good enough. You don't matter unless you're useful to someone. That came from family, from some intimate partners, people who called themselves my friend, as long as I was useful to them. And of course, from workplaces. Mental illness is not the problem. It's the red flag that you are in a problematic environment, but you're not broken. Oftentimes, you're the truth teller. You know when people say you're too sensitive? Let me tell you, I figured out it's because they've become too insensitive. Rebuilding after that kind of damage, it takes years. And in most cases, a committee. If someone had shown me everything that I would need to face to get to where I am right now, I'm not sure I could have done it. It would have been too scary on my own. Honestly, I didn't know it would be this hard, and yet I would have gone through 10 times the pain and the challenges to get to where I am today, and I mean this. I still have problems, plenty of them. It took me a long time to get as messed up as I was. I took some of those problems with me and I'm still working through them. There were a lot of people involved and I had to do some major decluttering of notions, expectations. And yes, I had to let go of some pretty significant people. And some I still cry over that loss. But today's problems, despite being many of the same, financial insecurity, self-doubt, they don't hit anywhere near the same way. And they don't define me anymore. Because now I have friends, I have people who laugh with me and sometimes at me, but it's never like mocking or demeaning. It's playful. And our laughter, our shared laughter, it comes from the heart. And for years, my feelings lived in my throat where I was afraid to speak, or in my gut. I lived with constant nausea or headaches. My body was inflamed. I lived with chronic pain because depression gives you pain. I didn't know that. I would wake up thinking, how will I ever feel normal or whole again? And the misery was real. But what I eventually learned was that I had to remove toxic elements from my life. Just like with celiac disease, food with gluten is, of course, nourishing for most people, but it's toxic to me. Do you know someone who would feel that you feel good to be around, but that someone else gets really dysregulated around them? You might find them funny and exciting, or that when they're quiet, that feels calming to you, but to them, they get overwhelmed instead of excited, or they feel very lonely around them instead of calm. Staying in a misfit relationship for the wrong reasons for other people can have calamitous results. I learned that for me, I need to be taken seriously and listened to sometimes by those that I'm closest to. I need to feel validated, emotionally supported when things aren't going well. Those aren't character flaws. Needing human connection and emotional safety, those aren't weaknesses. It's actually the spice of life. And it's the way to feeling well and whole again. For me, despair is no longer a daily state of mind. I mean, I still face challenges, but despair? Oh, that's a thing of the past. I live with hope now. And not that false hope that I used to try to create. I've learned slowly to expect that I'm lovable, that I deserve care. I'm allowed to make mistakes. We can work things out together. That accommodation goes both ways. Get this, friendship and love are supposed to be reciprocal. Took me a while. It's not always me who has to sacrifice. And for the first time in my life, and I'm about to turn 65, I feel worthy, like I matter, like I'm supposed to be here. Now, some people rise from hardship like a phoenix, dramatic and visible. Others do quieter work. I mean, I recently met this guy. He feeds the homeless here quietly. There's no spotlight. There's no applause. Healing can look like that too. For him, that's his healing. I learned that years ago in community theater. I wasn't always on the stage. Sometimes I was the producer or the director, the one making sure the play could happen at all. And I remember getting all the lumber donated, because without that staircase, there would have been no play. And in that play, there was a young man who humiliated a props girl until she cried. She was a student volunteer and he had the lead role. Oh, he was full of pride. But I know how to handle a narcissist. I had been married to one before him. So I took her aside and I hugged her as a mother would. I was the producer at the time, and I told her, he has no idea how much power you hold. And that night I was sitting in the front and every prop that he needed was missing. The pen in the drawer, the cup in the cupboard. He needed a lesson in humility and she needed a lesson in power. And afterward, I made it clear to him, you need to make it right with her or that pen will never be there, or you will be replaced. That girl grew that day. And in recent years, I've been doing that work for myself. I don't put the pen in the drawer anymore for people who mistreat me, even after I've explained to them this hurts. Not if they treat me that way. And this is what I want people to hear today. You matter. But reclaiming that truth, that isn't something we do alone. I couldn't. It happens in baby steps with a lot of support. And we start off by using other people's lead, like I did for that young girl, with people who see the heartbreak and help you leave what isn't working for you. Eventually, you develop friends who really support you. They really mean it. And if you're struggling today, right now, please know this. Your pain makes sense. You're not broken. And there is another way to feel. There is another way to live. And you're worth doing something to get there. Because mental illness is not who you are. Symptoms are like alerts, like your red flags. And I've started to notice that heartbreak is more often than we care to believe as the cause of mental illness. Facing that honestly is hard, and it's not meant to be done alone. So if you're not feeling loved by someone who says they love you, that is costing your mental health. Heartbreak needs healing, and when you do that work, suddenly that label no longer applies to you. So it's time to find those safe, loving people who know how to care for you enough to start empowering you to stop putting that pen in the drawer. Because, my friend, you matter. So let's talk.